Hello again, everybody. Well, yes, it's time I figured for another update video. Just a couple things to get out of the way. First of all, just to mention that, yes, I am working on the video I promised I'd do for the high-grade Reborns Gundam, the Master Grade Titanium Finish Gundam 2.0, and the Master Grade Char Zagok. I've been taking all sorts of pictures for them. I've pretty much finished all of what I'm going to do for the Titanium Gundam. I've began working on the high-grade Reborns Gundam. And then when I'm done with that, I'll work on the Zagok. But it could be a while before I actually get the video finished, edited, uploaded, all that. Part of the reason is just because I've been wanting to get ahead on my 1/60th scale Exia. The reason for that is simply due to the time of the year that it is now and the weather, and basically I have no sort of inside setup in my house where I can airbrush kits all year long, so I have to rely on the weather for me to be able to do any of that. And seeing as it's already mid-August, I think it's sort of the beginning of the end of my time being able to even work on kits. So, I've begun working on that a little bit, and I'm hoping to get as much of it done as soon as I can. And maybe release a shorter work-in-progress video for that, when I get to a certain point where it would be a good point to leave off, maybe. I don't know. At any rate, I should have some kind of videos up after this fairly soon, whatever they may be, but those 3 kits I mentioned might be a while before you get the video of that, so I apologize again to anyone who's waiting, and I'll thank you for your patience while I do what I gotta do. The second point about this video is that I ended up getting some new stuff in addition to whatever else I got in the last video, and I just want to show some of that off. First of all, we'll get this out of the way. This is an old VHS tape of a documentary known as The Great Dinosaur Hunt by the program Infinite Voyage. A little story behind this is that when I was a kid growing up, I was all big into dinosaurs and all that stuff, and my parents had taped for me this TV special that it was on one day, and I would watch it all the time since they taped it, and after a few years, somehow I just never found it again. I don't know if it got lost. I don't know if one of our old VCRs ate the tape and I never was told this, or I don't know what happened, but I can't find it. And so just a short while ago, I sort of had a little hint of nostalgia for it all of a sudden, and I didn't really know why, but I just started thinking about it again. And I looked online, and I managed to find this on Amazon in a used section, and it only costs about $10 with shipping and everything. So it has been nearly 20 years since the last time I had seen this, and it was really good to get reacquainted with this. It was one of my old favorites, kind of the holy grail of my old collection, if you want to call it that. I've been looking for it for years and years, like I said, and no luck. So now that I finally have a chance to see this again, I'm pretty happy with that. I also picked up something very important that I've been wanting to get for a long time. This is a replacement battery made by the Landmark company that I can use in this camera. And I have been at the mercy of this camera's standard battery for as long as I've had it thus far. And it's been more than enough occasions where I have wanted to, rush outside and take a quick picture of something, or keep going on a video, or whatever it is. And this stupid battery has run out right in the middle of it. And then I gotta wait for it to charge 2 hours at least before I can go back and start redoing whatever I was doing. And by that time, most of the time, it's too late. This especially becomes a problem if I'm out somewhere, at a special location, perhaps, and my battery pack runs out. Sorry, then I'm kind of screwed. Well, I'd had quite enough of that, and I figured it was about time to finally pick up a battery. Now, the thing that had been putting me off about it for so long is because battery packs like this, the standard official Canon brand, cost nearly like $30, and I just couldn't really figure it was worth it to pony it up. I figured I could just get by, being the cheap bastard that I am. But I'd had enough, and then I looked online, and I found this at bestbuy.com, and it was only about $8, $9, $10, tax and everything, and it had free shipping too, so this was a much better deal. And this is listed as a 1120 mAh capacity battery, and that's actually a little better, supposedly, than the battery in the camera right now. So this should last a bit longer. So I've tried it out. It arrived at least partially charged. I'm not sure if it was fully charged, but it works fine. I recorded a couple videos with it already, and it works perfectly. So I will have to drain this dead, recharge it all the way so that the memory is full, and then I should be good to go. I'm very glad to finally have that. Well, moving on now, we have a bunch of paints and paint-related supplies. First of all, just got another pack of rubber gloves. I often don't wear these as much as I should. Sometimes, I don't know, I either just don't have them on hand or don't have the frame of mind to put them on. But especially if I'm working with like lacquer thinners or other paints that are a little more volatile like that, I should try to keep them off my skin as much as possible. So, good to have that. Also, if you'll remember in the last video of this update I did, you'll remember that I bought, foolishly, a gloss enamel top coat, which I didn't actually need, because I was going for dull coat, and then I, to compensate, bought a Krylon dull coat. Well, I tried it out a little bit, the dull coat from Krylon. It really wasn't doing as well as I'd hoped, and there was even one paint I was using. I think it was a Rust-Oleum gloss white mixed with another color or something, and as I sprayed the dull coat on that, it began to make the paint underneath sort of crackle and break up a little bit. I was not going to have any of that. I bought these. Now, this right here is a Model Master from Testors acrylic dull coat, and this would be a Floquil from Testors flat finish, and this is an enamel paint. I now have, finally, an enamel dull coat for airbrush and an acrylic dull coat for airbrush as well. And I've yet to try these out, but I'm sure they'll work good. So, I'm glad to have them. Also, something you may remember in the last video was that I bought this Cobalt Blue from Model Masters as well, also an enamel paint. And I had planned on using this color for my 1/60th Exia. I still do, but as I was testing it out a bit and looking at it a little closer, I sort of remembered on how some, Gundam designs have a color on them where the blue is sort of a kind of blue-purple sort of color. It's kind of a hard color to describe, but if you are keeping up with Gundam Age lately, the Age FX has a color like this on it, and it's a color I've always liked, and I've always wondered how modelers were able to achieve it, because I'd never found quite the right color they were using. Well, then it occurred to me when I was watching YouTube videos on gunpla building, there were these series of, you've probably seen them. They're these Japanese sort of, documentary shows on how people go about painting and building and modifying gunpla models. Sleepy Lafiel, his channel has a lot of these videos, and I was watching one of them, and I saw that the guy who was building this kit, I think it was the Master Grade Gundam version Kotoki, and he mixed up a combination of a blue color like this with a hot pink color like this. Now I have a color like this on hand in other paints, but the problem is they're not enamels and they're not adequate for airbrushing. So I found this at my local hobby shop, and now what I'll be doing is I'll be mixing roughly 5 parts blue to 2 parts pink, and that creates just about the right color I'm looking for, sort of a medium between blue and purple. And this should look pretty good, I think, and I'll be giving that a try, seeing how it works on the model, and if it works, then that's what I'll do. Anyway, another sort of important part of my building the 1/60th Exia is primer. Now I wanted to get, a good kind of primer, but Tamiya primer from the spray cans is outrageously expensive for what you get, and I was not going to pay like $7, $14 or more for a can of primer. I mean, I just didn't see the point in that. But instead I found this Tester's Flow Quill primer. It's an enamel primer, and I've used this actually since I bought it, and it works very, very well through an airbrush. If you properly thin it, it goes on so smooth, so nice. And here's a result of something I've been working on the kit. This, of course, is the gigantic GN blade. Now, prior to priming this, I had, first of all, removed the seam lines, especially down this part here. There was a very nasty one running right down. So I got rid of that, and all along the edge of the blade. And then I took some sandpaper and some sort of buffing, polishing block like this. It's got all these different steps. You take it from one to the next, and you work up a fine polish on this whatever part you're doing. And so after I did that, I sprayed on a very nice good coat of primer, and this is so smooth. I mean, I compare it with, say, the Krylon primer from a spray can, and it might be just as good of a paint, but from a spray can you get much rougher textures. And with an airbrush you get obviously much smoother textures. Anyway, this is just a way of showing you some progress on my Exia and showing you how that primer works, which I have to say is very nice. I would recommend this as a nice alternative to the expensive Tamiya primers. I also have this Model Masters Metalizer Burnt Metal Lacquer Airbrush Paint. And if you look on the bottom here, you kind of see the pigmentation. It's a very interesting color. Sort of a warm yellowish steel or something like that. And I think I have something in mind that I could use this for, but I'll explain that later. Next up, I bought just a standard red from Testers. I only needed a little amount for what I have in mind to use it for, but I didn't have an actual just flat standard red, and I figured at $1.75 I couldn't go wrong with this. These are very nice for airbrushing too, by the way, if you thin them right. Also, we have this color. It's called light gray, but there's a number code after it. It's FS36492. I like this color because it's just sort of a nice lighter gray with a slightly warmer tint to it. And I have something in mind again that I would very much like to use this on. Moving on, we have this Insignia Blue from Testers as well. And it's a very nice deep sort of navy blue. Also something I needed for a project I have in mind. One more paint is this Raf Azure Blue from Testers. And again, I have a special purpose in mind for this. So, what would I be needing? This paint, and this paint, and this paint, and this paint, and perhaps this paint. Maybe the primer as well, for the base coat. As well as maybe even a little bit of this bright gold. What could I be needing all this for? Well, I'll show you. Okay, so here we have a package from Hobbywave.com. And I ordered this about a week and a half ago, and it only just arrived. And let's see, there's their address. So, anywho, let's open this up and see what I got. Alrighty. What I have here today is the 1/100th scale master grade Sandrock EW. And I had been debating for a while whether or not I wanted to go ahead and buy any of the EW master grades. But I figured even if we get TV versions of the wing kits like we did with the original Wing Gundam, I think it's going to be a long time before we do, and that's a long shot even in and of itself. So I figured I might as well go ahead and get some of these, because I have a special plan in mind for this. If you remember those paints that I mentioned just before I open this up, I have plans of giving this guy a custom color scheme. And
what I'm going to try to do is make this EW Sandrock look as closely as possible to the TV version. And that's going to involve giving it a color scheme like you see here, as well as potentially giving it some additional modifications. Claw plate maybe, or whatever comes to mind that I think would help make it look at least a little more like it did in the TV show. But however it turns out, I figured I wanted to start with Sandrock, seeing as the 1/144th scale TV version of Sandrock was the first Gundam model kit I ever bought. And I've always sort of had a soft spot for the Sandrock. So, I am glad to have this. It looks like a very nice kit. I will definitely have fun building it. And I will be sure to do an unboxing video for this at some point. So, I hope you'll stay tuned for that.
So anyway, that about wraps it up for now. Hope you've all enjoyed the video, and again, I promise I will keep working on my video for the Reborn's Gundam, Titanium Finish Gundam, and the Zagok, as I have time to do so. But I will be, of course, emphasizing more on the 160 Asexia, trying to get that done before the weather starts to get worse. And then hopefully I'll be able to work on my Sandrock after that. Anyway, I guess that's it then. So thank you for watching, and until the next time, catch you later.